Everybody, it's me, the Einstein of Wall Street, in the balcony of the New York Stock Exchange. It is a new day, it's a new year, and we're here to revisit my good friend Andrew Sobko, the CEO of Batch, an AI logistics company within the transportation space. Welcome back, man.
Thanks,
always
Peter.
great to
Thanks
see
for
you.
having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So, look, we're in a new era. We're in a new world. It's 2025. A lot's changed since you were here last. You know, right off the bat, just to keep it super fresh, you know, obviously over the last couple of weeks, we have a new president, right? New administration. And there obviously is the question of tariffs, right? Over Canada and Mexico. And give me some sense of your, how do you see this affecting your business? And how do you see it affecting just the United States in general, and obviously in your business?
Look, there's, as you can see, a lot of volatility going on in the stock market and our industry, of course. Our major clients like, Walmart and other major brands constantly procuring goods from all over the world.
Right.
They have thousands of suppliers. Some of them are based in China. Some of them just recently moved factories to Mexico. So we've seen a lot of volatility. And in many cases, shippers have no idea what to do next.
Right.
So our goal is, since we've always been very active in AI space and trying to apply AI to specific solutions, we're trying to help our customers understand what's your next best move.
Right.
We call it nextbestmove.ai. What's your next best move? Let's say you have hundreds of analysts. It's very kind of similar to what traders do, right? They're trying to protect downside, understand the downside so they can have more wins. In this case, it's a little bit kind of crazy in the last couple of weeks. They have no idea. There were a lot of people moved their factories from China to Mexico, and now they're like, oh my God.
Is that a recent occurrence?
That was going on in the last, it was a good trend in the last, let's say, 12 to 18 months.
Okay.
People kind of had the feeling.
Do you think it was in anticipation of what was going to happen?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, of the new administration
Right.
coming up. And a lot of people move factories to Mexico, and now there are potentially new tariffs on Mexico.
Right.
So they have no idea what to do next. Some of our customers still have thousands of suppliers in other countries, some of them exposed to Taiwan, some of the others in Vietnam. So we're trying to help them. What is your next best move? How can we help you so you can help yourself and save a lot of money?
Right.
And today, big conversation, everybody's talking about AI, but people are just talking about LLMs, GPUs, but no one, I'm not saying no one, but most of companies don't really have any specific solution they're trying to solve.
Right.
So we've again focusing on tariffs, which is a major. How can we tell you what your risks are through alerts, through AI-driven alerts, which is a big solution for our clients. And in many other cases, we, again, trying to kind of improve planning accuracy. You can plan a little bit better with AI. And again, I like to say it, it's like, a supply chain logistics, managing supply chain, it's like a huge game of chess. It's kind of problem that no one ever solved yet.
Yeah.
In the supply chain side, where trillions of dollars are being spent globally, it's a way bigger space.
Yeah.
You have a lot more players involved. There's a lot more ways to win, or in some cases lose.
Right.
If you can just tie this up quite a bit, you can, again, make billions of dollars on your current, for some companies that are already procuring, again, billions of goods.
Right. Sorry to interrupt you, but I mean, I see it as a chess game meets like Pac-Man or something, right? It's sort of digitizing the idea. But for me, your industry, and I told you that when we interviewed the first time, that, it's like playing with trucks and trains as a kid. For me, it was a super exciting thing. So the idea, I don't think, look, besides the medical space for AI, from a real working efficiency level, from the business model and ability to monetize AI within an industry, there's nowhere better than your industry to look at the logistics. And I would imagine now you've added one more component that is a bit of a wild card that you will be able to really make ultimately efficient. Next best what is the line?
Your next best move.
Next best move. It's actually genius.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we just, again, many cases, a lot of companies have a lot of smart people analyzing data.
Right.
Our goal, can you apply AI so you can have less people analyzing data, and AI can help you? You can basically apply math towards some solutions.
And also, I don't think there's a human being that can look at the big global picture. You're talking about moving from this to this, and you're also now talking about, the financial benefits or problems that tariffs are going to have.
Yeah, and again, in many cases, you have also thousands of suppliers. So you can just, by understanding the risk, you can make slightly better decision. Maybe, you're not going to buy some goods from Taiwan, hypothetically, or another country. You can start procuring from Vietnam, which will have less risk.
Right. So I have not asked anybody yet, and I'm still not clear about it, and I don't think anybody is. And you're the smart guy in the room. So explain to the layperson who's watching this show, who is the one, who in the, not in the supply chain, but who in the chain from a consumer to a manufacturer to the transportation, who has the biggest effect, positive or negative, by tariffs? Because I don't think anybody understands. Who is it costing more money?
It definitely costs more money to shippers. We call it shippers, retailers.
More than the consumer.
Major retailers, they cannot just put it on consumers overnight.
Okay.
They have to take some of the costs on themselves until they figure out and can optimize their supply chain. So the biggest hit is coming on
shipper.
An actual shipper. Yeah.
Okay, and that's your customer.
Yeah, and for us and players like us, we like volatility.
Right.
We are basically trying to be like a market maker. We're trying to, our core
you
business,
are.
we're being a market maker in logistics industry. We're trying to make it a little bit more efficient. It's again, it's still a very illiquid industry, and we're just trying to keep injecting a little bit more liquidity, more data, apply AI, optimize slightly better, and have very accurate forecasts. And as you know, we have tons of data, and now my personal focus is, again, we're looking for some strategic M&A opportunities. Can we maybe go and acquire some companies with good data that potentially is useful for our industry? Because not all of the data, people are talking about having more data is always good data.
Right.
It's not the case all the time.
Right.
There are many examples, like if you look into like a loan default data, if you're trying to analyze on the United States or North America market and you get the data from Brazil, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
So we're trying to focus on getting and procuring the right data so we can apply our algorithms and build the right models to have the right outcomes. And
Okay,
right
so as opposed to you doing everything in-house, and I think this is a really smart business model too, if you already have established companies that are running at super high efficiency because that's what they do, they are data providers, then acquiring them, bringing them into the family makes so much more sense than starting to build a whole new branch within your infrastructure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
In some cases you can go and, we're looking specifically at software companies in our space that been for many years, already have a lot of transactions, have years of great data, a lot of big name customers, and that's kind of our strategic focus.
So there are actually customers that are just data providers. I mean, I know we have it here, and for me it's sort of, I've never really understood that. So we on the floor, we're trading, right? There's information, I see it in the option. So I work with a company, I'm on the board of a company called Quant Data. They track unusual option activity within the stock market, right? And what they do is they go out and they source the information. Who are the large whales? What are the big trades doing? And so that information is gold, right? And so I would imagine from your point of view, so there actually are companies out there that are collecting data within what? In transportation and logistics? Is that what they've been doing?
Yeah, on the supply chain. Some people are trying to understand who your supplier are.
Right.
So there are a lot of companies that have kind of unique business models in our space. And we're looking to either partner up with them, do some sort of M&A events.
Right.
Not specifically only just data companies. Like an example, Dun & Bradstreet, which went public a few years ago, they have huge amounts of data.
Right.
But it's not always the best data for our use case.
Right, of course not.
So we're trying to be very strategic and again looking to...
It's more accounting and credit.
So we're more focusing again on partner up with logistics-specific data, some different transportation management software providers. What can we extract? What is potentially could be publicly available data so we can apply again our algos.
What do you see as the biggest change? Look, so we're 3 weeks into the administration, and we're already seeing, I mean, I don't like him calling it a trade war. It's eventually going to be, look, he's a businessman. It's going to be a negotiation, right? And look, and for me, the biggest thing is the dissemination of information. How do you disseminate? In the old days, in the 80s and 90s, when the Federal Reserve Chairman was going to say something or earnings were going to come out, you called a news conference and you disseminated the information in a more organized fashion because the market can handle anything except surprises, right? And a sort of unrequited love. You promise the market something, they need to get delivery on that. And so it's just, how do you see the biggest change with it? So look, you've been in business on the last administration. We don't know. Were you in business when Mr. Trump was president before?
Absolutely.
Okay. What was the most obvious transition that went from Trump 1.0 to Trump let's say to the Biden administration?
Absolutely. So we see a significant trend towards domestic transportation, big focus. But until that actually fully happens and people can start executing their strategies, there's still we're seeing huge influx of imports coming in. People trying to rush, they have no idea where the potential tariffs could come from, which country. You can possibly guess, from some of the conversations that President Trump
we have some
mentioning, yes. But our goal to be ready, to help our clients understand the potential risks, they might have different tiers of suppliers. They might have suppliers in, let's say, exposed to Asia. Some other suppliers may be based in Europe.
Right.
So we're trying to help to prepare them to be ready. So whenever something new comes up, they can move really fast.
Right.
But in the meantime, the biggest trend is towards domestic.
Right.
We can see domestic, manufacturing markets growing. We see a lot of, shippers and head of supply chains and CIOs thinking about, okay, we might need to start opening up factories in the United States of America, which will significantly boost our business.
Wow. So that makes so much sense. So look, we know that Mr. Trump is a wild card, and the problem, and he can be a bit of a bully, irrespective of politics. But at the end of the day, he's a businessman. So we know. But at the end of the day, to minimize risk for your customer base, to focus on domestic manufacturing, right? Obviously, that should be right. Did what Mr. Biden do within the infrastructure bill, in any way help set the stage for U.S. manufacturing or a revisiting of U.S. manufacturing?
I honestly, I don't know. We did not see significant effects. I just don't have this answer, but we didn't see any big moves.
But do you see, so now we're once again changing, we're getting Mr. Trump back again. So I'm just curious, right now we're seeing, so I love the idea. I mean, I just had this vision of it's like, getting like hyper crazy playing a board game to think, who is going to be the country that's going to be next, and you be able to go to your customer and say, you know what, we're hearing that there's going to be tariffs on this country. We can source it here, here, and here, and we're going to bring in that stuff in advance. It's like futures. Yeah. Right? I mean, it's trading futures. It's the exact, right?
It's either you're buying spot or futures.
If you're buying spot or
futures. And that's the way we see it.
I didn't even realize it. So your business is actually based on that too, right?
Absolutely. It's very related. It's not, again, as liquid as the stock market trading, but that's where the industry is moving forward. So we're a big believer, again, injecting huge amounts of liquidity into a logistics supply chain industry, which will make our industry way more efficient.
Your largest customers are Walmart and?
All major brands, again, all retailers from Walmart and many, many other major brands. We're very exposed to energy. We have a huge exposure to Department of Defense space. We have some publicly traded companies, the manufacturers of.
So let's go back, let's talk about the last couple of years as far as energy goes. With the war, obviously war between Russia and Ukraine. How much has that affected your business?
Look, it's been more effect, a lot of conversations. Our company was not really exposed. I'm Ukrainian, but we never had any employees based again in that side of Ukraine.
You've been here in the States
most of our employees are based. We do see a lot of people in our industry had significant exposure. They're doing labor arbitrage. They had a lot of people again based close to in Ukraine, so they were kind of a little bit had significant exposure. But overall, interest rates, potentially because of the war, significantly affected our industry. We saw people, again, didn't have enough money. Consumer spending went significantly down. Right. And those kind of trends kind of hurt, I would say, our industry in the last couple of years, specifically after coming from the pandemic. People were focusing on, again, inventory stacking up. And post 2022, 2023, people, our major customer focusing on just selling their goods, selling their inventory, and not bringing any stuff in. So we saw a huge decline. Now, with the new administration coming back in, we see, again, a lot of volatility going on. Right. We like it. Unfortunately, we like it. It's always been good for our industry, and we love volatility, and our customers trying to figure out, again, what's their next best move, and that's our job. The
next best move, I love that, because that's what we do here, right? Volatility is the lifeblood of a trader's market. Just so you know, I've been talking about this for the last couple of days, because I've been trying to analyze the market with Trump 2.0. From an investor point of view, and I'm sure this is the same thing with your customer base, that they're more anxious than they are stable, right? I would say the last administration, at least looking at the market, we had a trend, right? We had, look, in 2024, there were 7 what we call pullbacks, consolidations, sell-offs. There were no crashes at all, and each one of the pullbacks we saw in 2024 was a great opportunity, right? These were stocks that were high-flying names, a lot of them in the AI, obviously NVIDIA being one of them. We know NVIDIA in February of 2023 was a $108 stock. 2024 was a $900 stock. June of that year was $1,200 and it split 10 for 1. So we've seen that. So how much? So let's talk about NVIDIA for a second. I mean, it's a fascinating name that obviously we're seeing, look, DeepSeek. Last week, came out with a claim that they can do everything that NVIDIA is doing on for 10 cents on the dollar. They threw out a number of $6 million based on whatever NVIDIA is spending on that. Do you have any understanding of that situation?
Absolutely. So our view, again, it's in the game of AI, I call it like building, chess engine. It's very, very similar. Building, supply chain AI solution at scale.
Right.
It's all about, to some degree, GPUs, building great algorithms, and have a lot of smart people building the right algorithms. Is having enough GPUs enough? Absolutely not. You have to have the proper solution.
GPUs are the measurement of energy.
Yes, processing, which is what NVIDIA sells. Our view, again, effectively using our GPUs or GPU power that we currently have. And a lot of people are having conversation about large language models, which is, again, that's where you see a lot of focus going in. You see LLMs all over the news. We're big believers in the small language models because we believe they are way more effective. You need way less.
Me from a layperson. I don't understand.
No,
large language versus small language model.
Companies like OpenAI building, ChatGPT, same with DeepSeek. It's large language models, and there's different, small language models.
So DeepSeek would be a small.
Large. No, they're still large.
They're still large.
Language model. Yeah.
So there are smaller caps. Small. Oh wow.
Yeah, but small. It's different. Use cases you're applying the models to.
Right.
They're not as large. So we are more focused on applying small language models because you need less GPUs, and we have specific problem we're trying to tackle. It's not like we're trying to make up a solution for the whole industry. We're tackling some specific problems, and we're applying, again, small language models. You need less GPUs, and then whatever the GPU power you have left, you can apply it towards supply chain optimization. It's about forecasting and optimization. We're focusing building great optimizers.
So
the outcome from our algorithms.
I understand. So does it make sense that this new small, basically an app that rose up to the top of the App Store can do what NVIDIA is doing at 10 cents on the dollar? Does it seem realistic?
Look, I don't know. I think there's a lot of investigation going on.
Right. More to be revealed.
More to be revealed. But I believe that in the last 2 weeks, it's kind of changed the narrative that to build successful AI, you need to deploy billions of dollars.
Right.
So I think it did help. And a lot of venture capital firms started opening up. Oh, it actually, you might be able to build something great just by building smarter algos.
Yeah.
Instead of just deploying billions of dollars, there are ways to build smarter algos.
I agree.
So
with
again,
you.
It's not always just about GPUs. GPUs are incredibly important.
Right.
Again, it's you creating this huge, especially in our space, it's a huge space.
Right.
So you want to again apply towards a lot of potential solutions in our space. But we're tackling specific problems. We're using small language models.
Right.
We're using less GPU power, and that's our solution. And back to DeepSeek, incredibly helpful for the whole industry. Unfortunately, again, it's a Chinese company. It's very sad. Let's see what happens.
Right.
But a lot of, again, venture capital firms started opening up their eyes and we can actually do something with way less capital.
Look, I think it took the world by a storm. It surely took NVIDIA by a storm. They must have had some prior knowledge of what was going on. But look, it adds a lot of, there was surely a monopoly going on within that AI and the chip space and GPU space by NVIDIA. Obviously, this brings more people to the table. It also opens people's eyes to the fact that maybe you don't need to spend billions of dollars. So short term, I think it's getting smacked in the head by a 2x4. Long term, it's going to obviously level the playing field and bring in a lot more potential competitors in the space. At the end of the day, everybody benefits for something that's going to take over our lives being done at a cheaper price.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's our view.
Yeah. Obviously, we don't like, sometimes, look, big guys don't like people coming in and messing with their playground. But at the end of the day, that's capitalism, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all about building smarter algos.
Yeah. So you have it sounds to me that you're really excited about the future.
I'm very excited. I've been very enthusiastic in the last 6 months. The progress we made with AI was not possible even last 18 months ago.
Right.
So we're very excited. Again, we're very focused. We're recruiting very talented people from major brands like OpenAI and DeepMind and Amazon.
Right.
And that's our focus, and specifically focusing on solving actual problems for our clients.
Right. You know what? Look, I'm so excited. So this is Andrew Sobko, CEO of Batch. Keep your eyes open for this. Logistics, transportation, AI. That space is absolutely, we're in the midst of an industrial revolution. I do a show on this, my little network here called Trade Like Einstein for Money News Network with Dan Ives, #1 tech analyst in the world. He is the man, look, forever a bull, but he's the guy who describes to us every week that we're at 8 p.m. in a party that's going till 4 a.m. That's the AI story. We're in the second inning of a 9-inning game. We haven't even seen the beginning of what we're looking at. This is a multi-trillion-dollar industrial revolution like we've never seen before. And you're on the forefront of it. And you're gonna kick ass and take names.
Thanks,
I'm
Peter.
looking forward to it. It's always a pleasure. Check this out. Batch CEO Andrew Sobko. I love you. And that's all I got to say about that.